Hi everyone, welcome to our story cycle. First, I want to mention that we are gonna go through this story cycle to understand our intercultural differences and to develop these competencies. So the main structures are, of course, listening to each other and that only one person speaks at a time. As a recommendation, I should advise for you to take notes so that we could answer the questions at the end about what you heard. And well, everyone will have a turn to speak, answering the questions in each round. And there will be 3 rounds in total, one to get to know each other, the second one to answer some questions, and the third one to discuss what we heard from our other partner. So first of all, we're gonna get to know each other, and I want you to please mention your name, 3 words or phrases describing your background and why these phrases are important.
Well, hello, my name is Ana Paula Tejeda, and the words that describe my background are sister cities, because I live in the border and both communities, Ciudad Juárez and El Paso, are very united.
Hi, my name is Miriam, and my words that describe me are Guatemalan, family, and kindness, because for me it's important reminding of my roots.
Hi, my name is Rodolfo, and my 3 words or phrases that would describe me the most are the friendship, family, and I would think as a phrase, music and art and the culture behind it, because I really enjoy learning about different countries and the way they've turned music and the art into something amazing, and it all comes from their history and their culture.
Hi, my name is Eugenio Calcaneo, and 3 words that could represent me could be the cajeta, because I'm from Celaya, Guanajuato, and it's the representative candy of the city. The second word could be the language Spanish, because it's the primary language of the country where I was born. And the third word could be the tacos, because it's one of the most representative dishes of Mexico, and one that I can say that I eat often.
Okay, very nice. I would also like to mention that I am from Tabasco, and well, 3 words that identify me are nature and heat, also because it's very hot there, and also bright colors. There are a lot of bright colors in our culture. So next up, we're gonna go with the second part of the story circle, which is intercultural competencies. The first question is, what is one of the most positive interactions you have had with people who is, or with a person who is different from you, and what made this such an positive experience? And also, you could also combine this by describing a time when you realized you believe in a stereotype, maybe about a group you're part of or a group that you're not part of, that was not true, and what happened. And also, what is a metaphor from this own experience of you that could illustrate how a cultural clash can be overcome? How did you affront this challenge?
Okay, well, people from El Paso, Texas are very accepting of the Hispanic community because we live in the same space. So when people from El Paso try to speak Spanish to my grandmother because she doesn't know how to speak English, I feel happy for her and know that she feels accepted in the community she lives in. Now, for the stereotype, I haven't experienced personally a stereotype, but people from El Paso have had stereotypes about me and people that live in Ciudad Juárez. Like, for example, people from El Paso think that Juareños don't know how to speak English, or that they all go to El Paso illegally, or that they just go to buy their groceries there. But most people from Ciudad Juarez go and work or study in El Paso. And I think that even though El Paso and Ciudad Juarez are in two different countries, the culture we share is very similar. It helps that we live so close to each other, and there isn't a cultural clash we need to overcome, except the language.
A positive experience that I had was talking with a person who was from India, and it was really interesting how we are very two different continents, but it was really positive to see how many similarities we had. And a stereotype that I had from Indian people was that they were often rude or that they didn't have the best hygiene. And this is a really ridiculous stereotype. And at the moment that I met this person, I kind of realized that. And at least this person was really nice, really kind, and that's kind of how I realized that was not true at all. And something that helped me overcome this type of intercultural clash was to be more open-minded and be open to have a conversation and see that even though we have a lot of differences in our culture, we also have a lot of similarities and appreciate those similarities.
So for me, I think a very positive interaction that I had once would be an interaction I had with a friend from the US. He and I had or like several contrasting qualities, specifically referring to like religion and the work ethic with it. Since I am agnostic and he's Christian, I thought that people from Texas that were Christian were gonna be really like closed and not open to like meeting Mexican people. However, it was extremely pleasant because we both connected through our similar life experiences, and we both realized that life in Texas and life. I am from Monterrey, Nuevo León, so it's very close by, and we realized that like many of the things from both of our birthplaces are similar and the experiences and our views in the world. So I think I learned a lot about not having prejudgments about people. Second, a time where I realized I believed in a stereotype that wasn't true. Well, being talking about the same subject, I thought most people in Texas would be conservative, just because I've always thought that the U.S. is very like close-minded on their beliefs, and I learned that this is mostly not true, and most religious people are open to all ideas. Most um people from wherever are open to like having discussions about culture and this was extremely pleasant because I was able to work on being more open and receptive to other ideas and points of view. And for a metaphor that I would use from my experience that illustrates how a cultural clash can be overcome, I think mostly talking about work ethic, there's a lot of conflict between people in the US and people in Mexico and preconceptions. And I think that once we all see that our work ethic is very similar, if not identical, and that we all have very similar goals, that's when we realize that we can all just work together to achieve them.
Well, for the questions, I could say that first, it was a conversation that I had with a friend from France that I met a few months ago. It was very positive because he was able to explain me various aspects of his culture And well, I didn't understand some of this before. For the second question, a year ago, my friends and I thought that the French smell ugly because that was something that a classmate told us. And well, later I was able to verify that it was not true when I was able to meet somebody personally. And a metaphor that I could say mm, would be not to judge a book by its reviews, but by its content, since we must keep an open mind when we meet new people.
All right, that's very nice. I think everyone has speak already, right? So to close and for the main part for the discussion of this activity, I want you to think about the following questions, having in mind what everybody just said. So first of all, what is memorable to you in what you just heard? What surprised you? What challenged you in the stories you heard? And to finish, please complete this statement. I used to think, ... and now I think, ... So having in mind the conversations that you already heard.
I really like Marianne's story because even though they were from different cultures and countries, they shared similar beliefs and likes, and it challenged me to be more open-minded about cultures that are so different from mine and try to immerse myself more in them. And I used to think that cultures are different, but now I know that cultures can be things you share with other people.
Something memorable for me, it was Rodolfo's story because I can relate to that. I am also agnostic, so when I moved to Mexico, I thought that everyone was gonna be really conservative and really traditional, and that's not the case at all. There's a lot of diversity, and that was something really gratifying. So that's something that memorable for me. And what surprised me was that even though we had different experiences, we kind of have a lot of similarities in our stories, where we were kind of biased in some of the themes, and we realized that, well, they're just stereotypes and that's not the rule. And what challenged me in the stories that I heard is the stories about thinking that people in the US are going to be all the topics that the battle between the US and Mexico and migration themes. I'm not from Mexico, I'm from Guatemala, so I'm not really into this subject, not that much really. But it's really interesting to hear about it and to kind of understand more of the challenge that's been going on there. And well, to complete the statement, I used to think that we were all very different and that we wouldn't be able to relate to each other. But now I think that we have more similarities than we think.
Something memorable about what I heard from this discussion is that I think that it really opens doors to other discussions. I think that if more people had discussions like this one, we could find way much more similarities, which is what connecting to what surprises me. I think that's what surprises me most, that in our in our various experiences, we can all notice certain behaviors and certain um learnings or lessons that are really similar. Um, I think what challenged me from these stories is that I would have probably thought the same thing as most of my peers did from their stories. And that just as they learned about their experience, now that they're like telling it to me, I think I can learn those lessons from them instead of having to experience those stories myself to believe them. And I think to complete the statement of I used to think and now I think, it's that I used to think that the world was very different and that's why it could never work as a whole. However, now I think that it's these differences and these discussions that we have that open doors to finding how these differences actually connect within each other and we can find similarities between the differences to all work together and find different solutions for different problems.
Well, in general, it seemed to me awesome that we all had many experiences that we have all had in relation to the cultures that are different from ours. That there are several stereotypes that we can have about certain people depending on their origin, but in the end, when we get to know them, we can see that these characteristics are usually not true or not completely, you know. Also, a challenge that I find is that I used to think that most of these stereotypes were true until little by little I could see that every person is different. So we can judge before meeting people.
Okay, that's very good. I think we've learned a lot today with this story circle about each other cultures and that we can identify all the differences, experiences that have become something significant in our lives regarding this subject. And especially all these experiences all of you shared and the challenges that we have to overcome each day. I think it's something very special to have in mind at all times and to think about the differences everyone has due to their background. So thank you very much for sharing today, and this would be everything. Thanks a lot. Goodbye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.